Okay, so we did 1 through 7 here, so we're just checking in there. Check your answers real quick. The main thing with being able to classify is just knowing, okay, which formula am I going to use, being able to pick that out, okay? Only one that may have been an issue is maybe B was trapezoid. Occasionally we have trouble recognizing those. And then make sure you check your prisms real quick. So trapezoidal prism, triangular prism, pentagonal prism, hexagonal prism. One question on the pyramid. So remember to tell the base of the pyramid because that's going to be your capital B. You have to find the area of whatever shape. Since it's a rectangle, I would do length times width and then my 1/3 times the height. Okay? Okay, 2 through 5. So check your answers there. I just plugged into the formula. So 2 was a parallelogram, which is base times height. Remember, you only have parallelogram on your formula sheet. So if it's a rectangle, you use that. If it's a square, you can use that. If it's square, you can also think side squared. Okay. 3 was triangle. And these answer keys it's on the back too. Okay. I'm also not sure. That's not a good picture. They put it in red, so maybe that is the height. But you do have to find one of the measurements for a triangle on your test. So you'll have to do one where you have to use Pythagorean theorem. So make sure we know how to do that. Okay, 4 was a trapezoid. So that is 1/2 times the height, base 1 plus base 2. Please make sure you're double checking your formulas, guys, because you have them in front of you, so there's no reason to not get those when you have them. Circle is pi r squared. Double check you have the radius each time. This one was the radius, but if not, then check that. Okay, so 6 is one where you will have to use Pythagorean theorem because we are missing this side, which is the height of the triangle, but it's also the diameter for the semicircle. So Pythagorean theorem, I can make this A, B, and C. So I'm going to do A squared plus 11.9 squared equals 16.9 squared. Okay, so get that real quick. Okay, I got 144. Did you guys get that? But then we would also take the square root, right? So what number times itself equals 144? 12. It is a whole number. So A is 12. Okay, so let's find that height now, or the area of the triangle. Let's start with that. All right, Gabe, what's the formula for area of a triangle? Good. All right. So now what would be our base? 11.9. So 1/2 times 11.9. And we found the height was 12. So make sure we do each of those. Okay, I got 71.4. Okay. Now the semicircle over there is, I'm going to do formula for area of what? A what? A circle. Okay, so pi r squared. Do we have r? Or could we?
6.
It's 6 because 12's all the way across. So r is 6. So pi times 6 squared. But since it's a semicircle, what are we going to do with our answer? Divide it by what? 2. So just enter that, and then where it says like answer, divide by 2 on your calculator, okay? So let's see what that is. So pi times 36 essentially divided by 2. Nearest tenth, I got 56.5. You guys agree? Yes? Okay, so that is my semicircle. All right. Now, is this question done? Yeah, add them together. Since we had that composite shape there. Okay. Alex, what'd you get? Okay, technically that's feet squared. I will tell you on the test, you're only putting the number, okay? Because you can't do like the squared and all that. So, like, you would just enter this. You will round to the nearest tenth on everything, so make sure you're rounding correctly for full points. Okay, what shape is 7? What shape is this? It's not a composite shape. Trapezoid, yes. Sometimes we think because they have that line drawn that they're splitting it, and you technically can, but it's going to make it a lot harder, okay? So the formula, A equals 1/2 height, base 1 plus base 2. Let's plug in. So if you want to do 0.5, all right. Melissa, what's the height? Good. David, what's one of the bases? Look where it, yeah. So you want the two that touch that height. And then I add, Lydia, what's the other base? 12. So I would just do that all at once. You don't have to like do the parentheses, then times it, then like when you enter that in your calculator, it kind of knows to do that for you. All right, Kyle, what'd you get?
I got 66.8.
Right, so 66.75, right?
Yeah.
So about 66.8, good. Okay, so those are the basic level, guys. Like if you do not know the area ones, going to be rough, okay? So those are 1 through 7 was our first kind of must do. Next two are 12 and 13. All right, these are from lesson 7.5, so the rotations that we did. So I will do, actually I might take off 13. Let's look at 12. So if a square, oh no, just kidding, not 7.5. I'm on the wrong question. I think we did this in lesson 1. All right, so I like to draw a picture on these. It's totally up to you. So we're talking about a square, right? So draw your square if you want. It has an area of 6,400. It's a pretty big area, right? So you can do, for a square, length times width, base times height. But what did I tell you is more accurate? Taking the side and doing what to it? Squaring it. Yeah, because that'll help you. So then 6,400 is s squared. David already knew that was 80 and 80. That's awesome. But if you don't, this is how you can set that up. So what's the opposite of squared? Square root. So then you can type in square root of 6,400, or if you just want to double check, whatever. So one side is, what did you guys get? What? Good. So David was right. And what's important about the sides of a square? They're all the same. Okay. Now we always get area and perimeter confused. So perimeter, if I have one side is 80, what do I do to it to get the perimeter? Times 4, which will give us a perimeter of what? Good. Okay, 13 is a little different because it's a rectangle, right? So it has an area of 450 and it has a height of 45. Ooh, I kind of didn't draw that proportionally because I didn't read ahead. What is the other side going to be? How can we find that?
45.
Nope, not for this one's a rectangle. So these are congruent and the top and bottom are congruent.
Yeah, so the other side would be 45, right?
Mm-hmm. So it's
I thought the two sides had to be congruent.
not for a rectangle, right? Just a square. So they're different on rectangles. So if you're not for sure, you can plug into there. So the area is 450, right? And we have the height is 45. So 45 times the base would equal 450. So what can I do to go backwards to solve for that? Divide. What's that going to give you? There you go. That's why I said I misdrew that. I should have put those the other way. But All right, now for the perimeter, I won't do 45 times 4. What could I do, though? 10 times 2, okay, so that would be 20, right? And then what about 45? Do I do that times 2? Yeah. So 10 times 2 is 20, 45 times 2 is 90. That gives us a total perimeter of 110. I believe it's actually a square one on your test, but okay. So now we're going to skip the page. All right, 17 through 22, but I want you to keep in mind, if you look back 17 through 21, so all of these, I believe you were finding surface area. Can someone double check? Is that what the directions above that say? Okay, so I'm going to just write that up here because it's on the other page. So 17 through 21, find SA for surface area. Okay, all of these have a formula. Let's do 17, but I'm actually going to give you that slant height. So I want you to change something there on 17, okay? Just a sec. Okay, so I want you to write this on the slant height, 13.3. Okay, because the test actually gives you that, but if you don't know it, use Pythagorean theorem. All right, so you're going to do the cone. Let's just do the cone real quick. Like, I'll give you a minute and a half to do the cone. What is the formula for surface area of a cone? So look at what we use for the base. Base is a circle, right? Good. Good. So represents the circle, represents the sides. Okay, so now let's plug in. So pi times, Peyton, what's the radius? Good, and I'm going to do what with that? Square it. Okay, don't forget. Plus pi times r. Do I square the second r? No. And then the slant height is the 13.3. Okay? So you can type that in all at once. Just be careful about typing and make sure you kind of double check your calculator. All right. Leah, what'd you get?
I got 340.2 centimeters squared.
Did you do them separately? Like, did you do this and then this?
No.
No? Okay.
I got the same thing.
340.2. It is just surface area, so it is centimeters squared, but again, you only have to put the number on your test, okay? Do we have questions on that? Because that is on there. David?
It's not the same as the one on the back.
The one on which number?
17. It says 59.2.
Oh, okay. I will have to look then, okay? I think that some of the answer key is wrong because I did not double check it, to be honest. It was already on there. I didn't check it. All right, 18 is a little tough. We did struggle with this on homework, okay? So what shape is 18? Trapezoidal what? Prism. So the tough part, I always start with the bases, which is like the shape that you're naming it by, so the trapezoids, okay? There is not a formula for this, so we just find all the sides, add them up. So let's start with the trapezoids. How many trapezoids will there be on this shape? 2. All right, so half of the height. I should see everyone writing. Corbin, what's the height of that trapezoid? Good. Jake, what is one of the bases? 3. Okay, what's the top base going to be? 6. Okay, so you'll type that in, and then you can also do it times 2 since we have that, the one on the front and the one on the back. So after you times by 2, I got 33.3. Anyone check that for me? Good. All right, so I'm going to circle that because I know I need to add it later. Okay, now all of the sides on this prism, and any prism that's not a cylinder, I guess, are a rectangle, okay? So the problem I usually see is you guys like leave one of them off. How many should there be? 4. So let's just kind of walk through them. The top one is probably, looks like our biggest one, so let's do that. Is that congruent to the bottom base? Or the bottom rectangle? No, so I just do 1. Alex, what are its dimensions?
10 and 6.
Good. So you kind of want to think, okay, that corner there, what are the 2 that touch it? So 10 by 6 gives us an area 60. All right. Now the sides, why are the sides going to be the same? What shows us that? The little, not parallel, but these are our congruent markings, okay? And I know that the depth has to be the same because it's a prism, so the depth is always the same. Okay, so there will be 2 of those. What are the dimensions there? So like, what's this right here going to be? 10 by, now the height is 4, yes. So I'm going to do 10 times 4, and why am I taking it times 2? 2 of them. So 40 times 2 gives us what? 80. Okay, what do I currently have left off? The bottom, so the smaller one down there. So there's 1 of those. Okay, what are its dimensions? 3 by 10. So if you notice, each of these had 10 in it because that depth is always the same. Okay, so 3 by 10 gives us 30. All right, add all of them up. 33.3, 60, 80, and 30. All right. Nolan, did you get that? Yes. Good. I'm going to have you do 20, and then we'll go back to 19, okay? So take a minute and a half and do 20. This is what shape? Hemisphere. And I will tell you, I didn't put this on your formula sheet, but I will put it on the board. What is the formula for surface area of a hemisphere? Anyone remember?
3 pi.
Good. So take like 1 minute and just do that. If I did not check yours, you should have 398.2. So that one's pretty straightforward. Okay, let's do 19. It's kind of a tough one. There is 1 composite surface area on your test, okay? So this is the ones where you really have to think about what part is not included or not like showing in the picture. Let's start with the cylinder, okay? So the cylinder, what part of that cylinder is not showing? The bottom. So look at your formula for surface area of a cylinder. What are we going to change about that? Take off the 2 where? Which one? At the front. Not the squared. The 2. Because pi r squared is 1 circle, and we only have 1 showing. Okay? And I'm going to actually say, let's maybe figure this one separately because we're going to need that circle's area later, okay? So let's do pi times, what's the radius down here? The diameter is 5. 2.5. So pi times 2.5 squared. So just do that first since I said we are going to need that circle's area. Um, 19.6. Okay. And then now let's do the other side. So 2 pi times 2.5 What's the height of the cylinder? 4, yeah. And then I'm leaving that 2 on there because that just goes with the like rectangular piece surrounding it. Makes up the part of the circumference. So I got 62.8. Okay, so just to remember, the 19.6 is the circle. We're going to come back to that later. But let's go ahead and add those. So 19.6 plus 62.8 gives me 82.4 for the cylinder. Okay, the rectangular prism. They don't really show us here, but if it's a rectangular prism, we have these other faces at the back. So we can't forget about those. Rectangular prism, you just have to find all, like you can find 3 of the faces and times each of them by 2. So let's do like the front. That's going to be the same as the back, right? So there's 2 of them. So Alyssa, what would the dimensions of that be, of the front here?
5 and 7.
Yeah, 5 and 7. And I will take that times 2. So that's going to be 35 times 2. What's that give us? 70. Okay, so that's my front and back. That's done. All right. If I look at the sides, ignoring the cylinder right now. So David, what would the dimensions of that purple side there be? It's like, you did the whole thing. Yeah, so 3 by 7 and then by 2, right? So 42, good. All right, now we just have the top and bottom. So typically that's kind of your smallest part there. Peyton, what are the dimensions of top and bottom?
5 by 3.
Good. So 15 times 2 gives us 30. All right. A lot of people stop here. If you do that, I still have to take something out of the rectangular prism, because what part is covered up on that prism?
The circle.
The circle. So right here.
142 minus
Yes. So you can take like David said, 142. So he's already combined these. You can do it like that and subtract it out. What number am I subtracting? Good. So basically anywhere on here, or you can do it all at once even, just throw on a minus 19.6. So I'm going to add all of these up, except 19.6 I'm minusing. So do we have questions on where that's coming from? Because the circle part of that rectangular prism is covered up. Something's on top of it there. Okay. Does anyone have their total?
204.
Yes. Yeah. All right, if you need some more practice on that one, I would say do 21. I will give you, let's see. The radius would be 14 of that. So just kind of a hint to get you started if you need. So if you struggled with 19, I would check 21, try to do that one and check the answer key, okay? All right, next ones you're going to do is 22. So you are focusing on volume. And then we'll turn the page, go ahead and circle these other ones, and then come back to give you. Okay, volume for cylinder is area of the base times the height. So I will plug in pi r squared times the height. And the radius in this case is 7. So pi times 7 squared times the height is 18. Okay, so I got 2,770.9. Okay,
Okay, I wrote the formulas on these. This first one is a rectangular base pyramid. So I have my 1/3, and then for the base, remember in your calculator you can do 1 divided by 3 with parentheses to get that. Area of the base, I'm going to do 9 times 7, because it's a rectangle, those dimensions, and then the height of the pyramid is 11. Calculate that. Is 231. Okay, 25 is a sphere, and they do only give us the diameter, so half that, the radius is 11. So remember, same thing with 4/3, I can do parentheses 4 divided by 3. Make sure you use the pi symbol, not 3.14. And then on volume of a sphere, it is cubed instead of squared. So to get that on the calculator, you do 11 and the little caret and 3, and then that'll give you a exponent of 3. Okay, so I got 5,575.3. Okay, the next kind of must-do questions here are 28 through 35, so I'll do the ones on this page. So 28 said, was the volume of a shape formed by a square with an area of 100 inches squared. So we have a square, area equals 100, and then it is rotated on the y-axis. So rotated on this vertical point. So remember we did this in lesson 7.5. So if it's rotated, you have a square on this side, which forms a cylinder. Okay, and then we need these sides of the square in order to know our radius and our height. So the easiest way to do this is think what number times itself equals 100, because we know they have to be equal. You can also do that the area is a side squared, so 100 equals s squared. So the square root, meaning one side, is 10. So r equals 10, and h also equals 10. And then now we can use that to find the volume. So volume is base times height, but since the base is a circle, we will do pi r squared times height, and we just plug in. So pi times 10 squared times 10 gives us 3,141.6. Okay, so I would take a pause on this and go ahead and do 29. Then when you restart the video, the answer will be there. Okay, so you should have gotten 201.1. Okay, and these ones are just these are all from lesson 7.5, but so if you need to look back over that or do those notes or anything. This one is also from that and similar. So as a rectangle is located with one edge on the line x equals 0. Well, x equals 0 is the y-axis because that is where x is 0 at. In quadrant 1, so describe the shape formed by the rectangle and is shifted up 8 and right 6. So I don't really, it doesn't actually matter about the measurements. It just means it was moved over from the y-axis. So you want to think if you directly flipped this, I always do that to kind of draw my image first. It would be on this side, but also if it was rotated around, so remember we talked about like a revolving door in class for just the rectangle, but if it's moved away, then we have this space that has a hole in it. So someone described that as a toilet paper roll. So, or you could think like someone else said like a tire on its side. Okay, so like all of this space would be taken up by the rectangle that had been rotated, but this space on the inside would be open. Okay, so you can describe that as a cylinder with a hole in the center, where it's drilled in or something like that. Okay, so I would go ahead and look at 31. It's very similar. So both on the positive x and y, and we're talking about a triangle. So it has a height of 10, a base of 2. Can't draw this exactly since I don't have a graph, but something like that. Here's your 90, and it's rotated around the x-axis. So since it's rotated on the x, it's flipping this way, but it's also rotated, meaning it forms, you always have to have a circular base from rotation. So that will give you a cone. You don't have to do the measurements. Okay, 32 is looking at cross sections, which is also 7.5 lesson. So take a minute and just try to do these, and the answers are on the back. I'll go ahead and fill them in for you as well, though. Okay, so there's the answer for those cross sections. All right, 33 and 34 are kind of different. We didn't have something super similar to this, so we're going to look at that. It says a rectangular prism has a height of 10 inches. I like to draw the picture. It's totally up to you, but if it helps you. All right, so we have a height of 10 and a base of 6 and of 9. Okay, and you're finding the volume. So try to remember that volume of a rectangular prism is just length times width times height. So I'm just going to do 6 times 9 times 10, which is 540 inches cubed. So, and then what the new part here that they're asking is, the prism has a density of 10 pounds per inch. What is the weight? So you're trying to find the weight. Every inch cubed represents 10 pounds. So all I'm going to do is take that times 10, which gives me a weight of 5,400 pounds. All right, same thing on 34, so I would try to do that just to kind of practice and check your answer in the key at the back. All right, 35 looks kind of crazy, but it is mostly just volume and then applying a little bit of this density like we did up there. So the top of Cleopatra's Needle is a small square pyramid. So we're talking about the top part. Again, I like to draw it. So if it's a square, I'm going to draw it at an angle though. And then pyramid. So the bases then are all equal. So I'm trying to find volume, which equals 1/3 area of the base times the height. So the bases are 7.5 since they're congruent, and the height is 5.5. So I'm going to do 1/3 times 7.5 times 7.5 times 5.5. Get 103.1, and that one is actually done. So I'm going to move on to this next part. Set up kind of weird, or the wording is a little weird. It says, assuming that this forms a perfect prism. Well, it gives us two base edges, or it gives us a base edge, but we know that that has to be equal to a square too, since it connects to this top part. Okay, so we're looking at a rectangular prism with a square base. Again, I like to draw it. If that helps you, fine. If not, you don't have to. But since it's square, all these are congruent, and they give us 7.5 again for that, which makes sense since it needs to touch that other, and then the height is 65. So I'm just doing the volume. So for a rectangular prism, I'm going to do length times width times height, because length times width is the area of the base. Okay, so length and width is 7.5 times 7.5 times the height is 65. Okay, so that's 3,656.25. All right, and this last one is kind of combining like composite with the density questions that we did above. So first thing we need to know is they are wanting the whole thing. So I'm going to add our two volumes up, so 103.1 plus 3,656 point, oh, I was supposed to round that, so 0.3, make that 0.3 up here, 2.5 became 3. Okay, and that comes to a total cubic feet of 3,759.4. Okay, so that's one answer. And then I need to find the weight. So if it's 140 pounds per cubic foot, I'm just going to take that times 140. So it's going to give you a very large number. So you're going to get 526. So 526,316 pounds. I think it's even bigger on your test. So it's a huge number, so don't assume you have that wrong. Okay, if there's any that you didn't get, I would go back and work on those. I also added a couple to the end here. Hold on. So I added this page of just a few extras. So if you, these are ones that are really similar on your test. So I would go through and try to work these out. They're not included on the answer key, but I'll give you those answers real quick just so you can kind of check it. These first two are both polygons, so you're using A equals 1/2, A for apothem, so that's this, and then P will be this side times how many there are. So here it's 7, over here it's 6. And the others kind of give you a breakdown of what you're looking at, so hopefully that helps.